Hey, welcome to another episode of Sober Not Sane. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe, like, watch. Send us a picture of your favorite cat on YouTube. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. You can find me at Jebb. Just put Jebb Fink in. It'll go to me. There's no other Jebb Finks. And before we get going, we want to thank Liz from the Camera Store for helping us out with some of the equipment that we're using. And just starting out, it means a lot to do that. All right. Zak Hussein, how are you?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you today, Jebb?
I'm okay. I'm on the mend from something, but it's not about me. It's about you, Zak. I love the name Zak. I don't know why, but it's a very cool name. And you were born here?
I wasn't. Actually, I was born in Tanzania in East Africa. Came to Calgary at a young age and been here since.
You know what's nice is you explained to me where Tanzania was. And I think that's because you found out I was born and educated in the U.S.
Compton.
Yeah. We're not big Tanzania, although I've been to Africa,
Yeah.
so.
Have you been to places of East Africa or parts of East Africa?
No.
No.
No, I landed there. I was there for an hour and a half and got on a cruise ship and went out to work in the Indian Ocean.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to go back there. That's one of the few places I would like to see because I didn't actually see it.
Right.
I bribed an official guy to get my luggage and get me out of the airport and off to the ship. So, because it's the American way, Zak. So we should talk a little bit about, and it's kind of funny, the Sober Not Sane.
Yeah.
You're a mental health advocate, and one of the things that I truly feel is that addiction, alcoholism, whatever kind of addiction is a mental health issue, along with a ton of other things. What made you get interested in this?
You know, I think we all struggle, but we don't open up and tell each other. You know, oftentimes it's too late where we realize where we've become or ended up and what our world has become. And I think for me I realized I didn't have an out. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where to go. So obviously started surrounding myself with positivity and quotes and just beautiful pictures, and it kind of gave me this escape. And that's kind of where my social media had started, was through photography and videography, was just an escape from our minds that sometimes can, or oftentimes can, consume us.
So, and it's mental.ca.
Yeah.
And which is a play on mental, I guess.
Yes, it is, yeah.
But do you think it's more prominent for men to not share?
I think it's 100%. I think we keep it in. You know, we're supposed to be these individuals that are not supposed to share our emotions and feelings, and we've heard that many times over. Or we say to ourselves where we're like, no, I'm good. I'm fun. I'm happy. I'm the breadwinner. I'm whatever you want to call it. This is the way I cope with things. I need to de-stress. and
Yeah.
I think, Sober Not Sane, you've realized this. I mean, 6 years sober.
Yeah.
And for me, it's coming up to be 1 year sober. I've realized the amount of peace I found within myself through sobriety. And did you find that as well? Peace?
I don't think I've gotten to peace yet.
No?
I'll up it to I'm more content than I've been in my life in a long time. But I've had one of those lives where I chase things my whole life. And now maybe it's because I'm getting older. And to be brutally honest, I hadn't anticipated on getting this old. But, I was running headstrong towards it. But I don't know about that happy, peaceful thing. I mean, I have bits and pieces, but in general, no.
But when you look at your life before, when you were drinking and all the things that were going on, the substance abuse, wasn't it just chaos and just, I don't know, gears grinding in your mind?
Yeah.
And now that it's not as much, is it?
No. And I think the thing is that you get used to it. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a daughter that honestly doesn't know how to live not in chaos. So I think people seek that out. Mm-hmm. And so out of all of your programs, and you have a lot on the website, if somebody's out there going, I need some peace in my life, where can they go
Sure.
to get help to look for it? Not to per se get it. You can't fix everything, but you can give them direction.
I think one of the things is we often hear, well, just go to therapy or go to a counselor. That may work for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
And sometimes people can immediately take offense to that. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to go to a counselor. I'm good. Right? So you'll think that way. So I think first and foremost is, I don't know, evaluate your life. Are you genuinely happy? Are you contributing to society in a good manner? Is your home life okay? And you start looking at all these things in your life, you'll quickly realize where you are lacking and where you do need work. I think it all starts with us first.
Yeah.
Again, everybody's journey is different, but for myself, I could say is, I've heard it before. Is, Zach, stop drinking. You're a loose cannon, or all those things beforehand that I was causing damage on my own self and to others indirectly. It just clicked one day. I woke up one day and I said, I don't know anyone in AA. Never been to an AA meeting. Think I've seen it in movies. Let me go online through the pandemic. November 25th last year. Let me go online and found a Zoom meeting, ended up on it, and continue to go on it every week. Or every couple days a week. Yeah.
Right. It's always amazed me, like, I started when I was like 13 years old, so I got an early jump at it, and I always felt that I was a addict alcoholic. And it would amaze me if people would say at meetings, I had no idea I was an alcoholic. No. And kind of by volume, there was no other conclusion for me. So did you know you were an alcoholic, or?
No, absolutely not.
Really?
I did not know. At the end of it all, I realized, I do have a problem here. But I had nothing else to do. There's close or shutdowns in our economy. I don't know, get a few growlers, get a few cases of beer, and stay home and drink. What else do you do? And I think we've seen that for many people across the pandemic, right? It's increased the alcohol consumption. So I think for me, it's just been, I realized it didn't become, like every couple of days, let's have a beer or two, or let's go have fun. It became a daily thing. And then what happened was, instead of 8 p.m., hey, let's go meet up with a friend for a drink, it started becoming 6 p.m., 4 p.m. And then what I've realized is I was waking up and texting a friend, hey, want to go for a beer this afternoon later? I was never that guy.
Wow.
So I realized I had a problem, but again, I ignored it for a while. Again, people start losing hope, right? And my mom had passed away a few months before the pandemic had started. And, grief's it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yes.
Yeah. She passed away from cancer, and, everyone has someone that they've lost or will lose one day that they love. And for me, my mom was somebody that gave me hope. It was that person that you could rely on when, I don't know.
Always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So your first online Zoom AA meeting, how did that go?
Ooh. Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I was still hungover. And I went on there distraught, confused, afraid, feeling like I'm here. Am I that much of a, and you say to yourself, the self-dialogue we say to ourselves, am I that much of a loser? How did I end up here? And you beat yourself up mentally. But after I left that meeting, there was some peace I found in it. That I found a group of people like myself that all have stories that I had no idea about. You know, I would go to the bar or I'd go to the local pub to deal with my problems. And you start building a community in your neighborhood pubs. And you go there every day and you're like, hey, John, hey, Joe. Hey, Zach, come sit with us. All right. So you feel a little comfort. But
Clubhouse.
exactly. And everybody's lonely there. And you realize we're all just staring at the screen and having no emotions. And then we just go home and next day there again. So.
Yeah, I found that I was a little shocked at how few friends I had left after I quit. And some of the old friends are still there, not very many. Mm-hmm. Do you have anyone left from that group?
So it's funny. I talk about this story a lot where on, 2020 in July, I had a birthday. My party had quite a bit of people. Obviously following guideline rules.
Yeah.
And, you know, all those people that were there, the one person that had been there that didn't drink and hasn't drank for years came to the party himself, had fun. We're all drinking, hanging out. He leaves. We all continue on. The year comes around this past July, and not one of them called me for my birthday to say happy birthday, Zach. Not one of them reached out. He was the only one that called. And you're right, that journey is a lonely journey. I do get calls from my one friend, but he keeps saying, want to go to the bar? No, I don't.
Yeah, I had a couple of people that don't get it either.
Yeah.
They're
Or he'll be like, oh, you're not drinking still? No, I'm not, I've told you I don't want to drink right now.
Well, you know, the answer that I get a lot, somebody will say, oh, you should go for a beer. And I'll say, well, I don't drink anymore. And the first thing out of their mouth is, fuck off. And it's like they can't even fathom that I wouldn't still be drinking. What reaction do you get?
Well, surprisingly, I think people have realized that I do explain a little bit of why I don't drink anymore. I said it was just too much for me. I couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
It was too much on my mind. It's just giving me anxiety the next day. Wasn't productive. Dealing with the hangover, and the emotions were all over the place. You couldn't keep yourself together. And I think that happens with a lot of men and women. Right. And that is also one of the reasons why I started that mental project is men helping men survive and opening up conversations of, you know what, it's okay to not be okay. And let's talk about it. If we talk about things, someone's going to hear the Sober Not Sane podcast and say, wow, you know what, maybe I can become sober now. Or maybe I've picked up something or a lesson to utilize in my daily life. And that's what I hope for in people.
Right. Well, my hope is that people just go, hey, I'm not alone. Because, I mean, I think a lot of people, like you say, you had this group of friends at the pub that you thought were your friends. It turns out not so much. And ultimately, you're really alone.
There's a gentleman that I always think of, and he still goes there every day, walks to the pub, sits there, drinks, not the friendliest man, and walks home. And every single day, and I'm thinking, you know, time is going by in our lives, and is that where my life was heading? Because that's where I was seeing it.
Right.
Becoming, well, you know, nobody wants to drink every day. And it became a daily thing for me because I didn't want to be alone at home. I didn't want to mentally be alone. I needed comfort. Hey, Zach, how's it going? Come on, sit with us. All right.
So how many people do you think, after everything that the world has been through, that maybe wouldn't have become alcoholics or over drinkers, but by circumstance they have? You know, they are at home all the time now. They don't have a job. They don't know what to do.
Well, I think we saw a stat recently that the consumption rate of alcohol and just the intake of drugs have just skyrocketed. Not just worldwide, but in our own community here. I mean, fentanyl overdoses we're seeing.
Yeah, that's a pretty horrific invention.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre that people are
Doing it.
doing it, but even that individual that's selling it, regardless, right?
Well, they got to, I think in my entire lifetime of doing drugs, I had one dealer that didn't use. And everybody else started out selling drugs in order to get free drugs. Then they discovered they could make a pretty fair living at it. So it was like, hey, I don't have to work at all. So I think people fall into it. And I mean, when I did cocaine, I thought it was a victimless crime. But then I've watched documentaries about how it gets here, and it's not victimless.
Nope.
I mean, the farmers are hideously abused, and they make nothing, while the giant dealers make fortunes.
I mean, we've seen Medellin and Pablo Escobar.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, have you found through the journey or seeing people through this pandemic, have you seen alcohol also rise?
No, I'm just not around it.
Oh, when you got sober, did you say, I'm not going to be a part of this life anymore?
Well, I do stand-up, so I would still go into clubs to work.
Was it difficult?
Sort of, but I mean, I drank nonstop, so it didn't really. I know some guys, that's their reward after the show, is they get their beer or whatever they drink, and I had already started when I woke up. So I was really good at a maintenance alcoholic and could maintain a certain level, and then until I couldn't, and that was very late in my career.
Did you realize you struggled with mental health?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Early on?
Pardon?
Early on in sobriety?
No, before.
Interesting.
I went to ADAC and saw a psychiatrist, and he said, why are you here? And I said, I need to know if I'm fucking nuts. Like, I think I'm insane. Because a sane person wouldn't do what we do, right? But you can't. That's not enough for most people, I don't think, to go, okay, you're right, we should stop. But this guy was great. ADAC's a great resource for people. Yeah. And I took like probably 4 or 5 different classes there. And it gave me more of an understanding of how my brain didn't work the right way.
No, for sure. I think if people hone in on themselves, through this pandemic, I've realized people can look at themselves deeply. That is the silver lining here. We have time. Before we were on this rat race of work, life, let's meet up for lunch, let's go do this, see you after work. Where were we running to? So the silver lining that I found was there's time for ourselves. Understand who we are, And there are people that didn't go through that journey and were just upset and saying, screw you, lockdown, and I just can't wait to see my friends again. We all do want to see our friends again, and we all do not want a lockdown. But in that time, you can go within yourself and say, who are you? Are you happy with the person you are? Are you happy with the habits that you're, consuming?
Right. Yeah. I learned to write things down and look at them. Look at what I was doing and going, well, that's not right. Like they can't be right. So I don't know how you get people there. If somebody goes to your website.
Yeah. So it's a new project actually. So we're looking for gentlemen that have a story or would like to share their story and open up and communicate. And we're going to have some Zoom meetings coming up where we can all come together in a private room and say, here's my story. Kind of like an Alcoholics Anonymous, but for men, helping men.
Right, because I don't know what it is about men not being able to show weakness.
I'm with you on that.
It's just ingrained. My dad was very much what are you crying for? and the standard, I'll give you something to cry about. And it's like, no, obviously I'm hurt, you know. And, you know, probably came from his dad. And
It's a generational thing, but I think people should stand up for themselves. They should still be who they truly are, but be themselves, right? If you're feeling it, express it. No need to hide it.
although, you know, when I first got out of my first rehab, I went to a co-op, and this poor kid, he said, "How are you today?" I said, "You know what? My life is absolute shit, and I put myself here. I got no one else to blame." And he said, "I'll be right back," and disappeared. And a lady came out, and she said, "I don't know what you said to him, but he's scared."
Oh my goodness.
I was like, maybe not the time to be honest.
No, not really.
Because I find people ask you, "How are you?" and they don't care. They don't really want to know. It's a nicety that people do.
It's one ear out the other. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can say almost anything, and you'll get "Oh, that's good."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you could say, "Well, you know, I stabbed my friend today," and they go, "Oh," because they didn't hear you.
Interesting. Yeah.
So maybe the listening part is important to teach too.
Yeah. And the other thing is shadow work. So there's a book I read, my friend had given me, The Shadow Effect.
Right?
And it's really interesting. You know, everywhere we walk, we have our own shadow that follows us. And oftentimes we ignore it and we don't actually go look within it, meaning ourselves.
Right.
Similar to what I was saying earlier, to face the fears, face the demons that we all have. We all judge ourselves hard. We all have weaknesses, but we also have strengths. And I think most oftentimes we should compliment those things and compliment others for it rather than tear each other down. Right? So when you start going within yourself, start picking this chest open and finding all these things that you don't want to touch. Because it's scary. Trauma, grief, pain. People are broken. But they try to glue it back together or just push it to the side and move on. It's just life. No, it's not life. You can have a better life if you go within yourself.
So somebody's out there and hopefully listening to this and maybe thinking, you know, I should go do something to help myself. What do you think is a good first step?
I think kind of similar to what you had said, start writing it down. Start writing what do you love about yourself? What do you not love about yourself? Are you happy in your life right now? You know truly, if you write it down, what you need to change in your life. Yeah. We all know it.
Yeah.
If you go do that, I think that map is already set. Start moving. I don't like myself doing this, then why am I doing this? Find a different path. And for me, I think one of the struggles was loneliness. When you get sober, you are alone. You know, oh, I'm staying home today. No, I'm not going to go out. Even people that say, hey, you don't have to drink, come out. It's not the same.
No.
Right?
No, I don't know how people don't understand that.
No. I'm like, no, I'll stay home. I'd rather just chill. That's when I started that podcast called Canadian Podcast.
Yes.
And I said, just bring on people that have dealt with pain and trauma and adversities and overcame them. Because we all have a story, and we don't talk about that. We can all talk about the highlight reels of our life, right?
Right.
Oh, look at me. Here's my accomplishments, or this is what I'm doing. But who are you as a person? And I think that's a really genuinely interesting topic for myself.
I've had a lot of jobs that it's easy to make the mistake that whatever job you're doing is who you are. And it's really not. No. It's just a job. And then later in my career, I kind of took on that. You know, I worked in TV. It was a great job, but it was a job. Mm-hmm. And, you know, after I wasn't on TV anymore, you know, I still had people that know me, but I realized it just really didn't matter that much. Like being on television, sorry to say during this, isn't that big a deal.
Was there a shift for you in terms of ego or how you felt about yourself going from television to a new job or a new position? It's like, I'm not that guy anymore.
You know what it was? Being on the morning show was a big deal because
Yeah.
everybody knew us. And
A channel.
yeah, and it was really hard to go, okay, you know, I can go to places now and nobody has a clue who I am. And I didn't realize how that affected my ego. Because it does.
Of course.
You know, it makes you, people tend to make you feel like a big shot, or they go the complete other way and try to make you feel like shit because.
You reported something that they did not like.
No, I was never an actual reporter. So I would cover things and people would say, I don't know why you were there. You should have come to our place. And it would be, you know, that's not the way TV works.
No. What was one of your most memorable moments on A Channel? Or places you've gone?
911, 9/11. We were on the air when that happened.
I still remember exactly what I was doing, where I was, and how I was feeling. I think that day no one will ever forget.
Yeah.
It's burned in our brains.
Yeah, and it really, it amazes me, and now we're into this with the pandemic, that people have all this time to go online and read ridiculous horse shit and believe it.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, I mean, I run into anti-vaxxers with their shirts in there, and it's like, you know, there must be something more important in life that you could be doing than just being a shit disturber. And I mean, I usually have the same answer for them. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you were a scientist. And maybe you could help explain to me in scientific terms, not some sort of bullshit you read on Facebook.
Yeah, you know, it's social media. There's a positive side to it with connecting with your friends and being happy and sharing positivity, which I tend to gravitate to and really want to push out there. The negative side, I mean, like you said, the pandemic's really brought a dark side of people. I mean, I don't blame people too. They're angry. People are very angry and upset. And again, if you're at home, what else are you going to do? Go on your Twitter or Facebook and just give these, and then follow what you know or what your tribe or community follows. So say, for example, if I'm a pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine or whatever I may be, if I'm an anti-vaxxer, I'm going to start following only those channels.
Yes.
And then you're going to spew that on your social media and, you know, the public's going to see that. And then they push that message on to others and vice versa. And that's where I've kind of stayed out of that because there's such a divide that I never even knew existed. Obviously, the pandemic and the words of COVID were never in my vocabulary, just like many of us.
Yeah.
But seeing families get divided over this or friends, and you're saying, what in the heck is going on? Really?
There should be more important issues that... And I actually, this is how stupid I am. I thought, you know what? Maybe this will make everybody get together.
Yeah.
And there's nothing usually better to get people together than to have a common enemy, so to speak.
Which was?
Should be COVID. But as it's gone through this, we're going through this process where, and honestly, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I think he did absolutely nothing to help anyone except haters. And I think he's a hater because in his heart of heart, he probably knows he's a loser. And so
Have you ever liked him? Or?
No, I didn't like the TV show, but then he was just kind of this harmless idiot. And then he became president, to which I'm going, what are you kidding me? Like, this is the best choices? It amazes me with a country that big, that's what they end up with. And at least, I know there's some anti-Biden people, but at least I think he's a good human being. And I think he's trying to do the right thing. He may not be accomplishing it. I don't know. But at least he's trying.
You know, it's crazy. What is accomplishment, right? And that's this divide right now. If we said, oh, Biden's doing great, well, then you're going to get this side yelling at you. Oh, Trump's doing great. Well, screw that. So how do people, the common people, come together and realize we don't need to yell about it?
Yeah, and it used to be that, and I said for a long time, just put it down into Alberta. What a perfect time for both parties to get together and go, all right, let's put the bullshit aside and let's figure out a way to really help the people of Alberta. And they decided not even to do that. They decided to, the NDP decided to just point fingers at what a terrible job the
UCP
was doing. And really, I mean, Joe Ceci used to send out all these texts, and I would look at them and answer them. And one of them I wrote to him, stop telling me what's wrong with the other party. Tell me how you're going to fix it. Tell me what you would have done better. And he sent back, basically, well, what is he, just playing it by ear? And I wrote back, everyone is.
Everyone is, yeah.
It's not just him. And guess what? You'd be the party that was doing a shit job if you were in power right now. It doesn't
Why
matter.
are people blaming each other? Why is this happening? I mean, it's always happened, but could we have found a way to just...
Do you think it's human nature to be aggressive and be hateful towards someone? Is it easier to have an enemy?
I think it's harder. Personally, holding a grudge is painful for myself. It would eat me alive to hold a grudge on somebody. That's why forgive, but don't forget.
Yeah.
It's, I think Maya Angelou had a quote where she says, you'll never forget the way, or you'll forget the way they said something to you, but you'll never forget the way they made you feel.
Right.
So true, isn't it? How that person made you feel inside, you'll never forget.
Well, and I think it might be from the 4 agreements, but it's the person with the emotion is the person with the issue.
Yeah.
And it's like until you learn to let that go.
You know what I realized, though, is you also have to just understand people right now. People are upset. People are angry. And I don't want to be in that war. I don't want to be a part of the dialogue there. I don't need to, because I'm finally coming to peace here with that war. Why do I need to go that way?
Yeah, you probably picked the worst time in the world to get sober. It's got to be more difficult. I mean, I said to somebody, thank God I didn't start getting sober during the pandemic, because I spent a lot of time at my house. And before I spent a lot of time at the house drinking.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I was doing. And just wasn't doing anything and waking up miserable and doing silly things.
And do you feel, because you're just coming down to the end of your first year, and I always try to tell people, I do have people that say, can you talk to my husband? Can you talk to my kid? Whatever. And my answer is always, as soon as they call me and ask. But I can't talk to them for you and have any effect. Because if a person doesn't want to stop,
they won't.
They won't. And, I went through a couple of rehabs. I went through detoxes. I went through all of this stuff. And until I finally... it's funny because it's surrender, right? When you finally go, okay, I don't have control over this. And I didn't realize what surrender was until I went, oh, fuck, I give up. And I was like, oh, that's what they've been talking about for a year.
Do you still crave it?
No, I don't. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't drink non-alcohol beer. I don't drink mocktails.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because it just...
It's a trigger. It could be a trigger.
Yeah. And my whole thing is if I do think at all about drinking, I think of going and buying a 40 and slamming it. Like, you're not exactly cured if you're still thinking like that. Exactly. And so at least I'm rational enough now that I can go, well, what a ridiculous thing that would be to do. But in that first year where you're at, it was really hard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and especially, again, the pandemic. You're lonely. Your friends are still at the pubs and bars. Don't get many phone calls anymore. Hey, you want to hang out?
Yeah.
So you're at home, and you got to decide what you want to do with your life. And I think going within was the best thing I ever did. But for me, I can say it was a little easier because I was trying to chase peace. I was trying to chase happiness. I was trying to love me when I didn't love myself before.
Right.
As cheesy as that sounds.
No, it's true, though.
Those little things, right? You pat yourself on the back, you give yourself a hug, and you move on, another step.
Well, you're certainly the person that knows everything about you. Yeah. So if there's stuff that's hard to forgive, you know it all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get to a point where you just can't look at yourself in the mirror anymore. There's a problem there.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had a dog that was pretty much my constant companion.
That's the same with me.
Yeah, and I said to somebody, if that dog could talk, I'd have to kill him. He knows everything.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And it was like scary to me to think anyone would know everything.
Yeah. Do you still have the dog?
No, he passed away.
Yeah, mine's 5 years old, and I'm just like, goodness, you're like my best friend. It is true. Man's best friend. Yeah.
Non-judgmental.
Nope.
Happy to see you every time you walk in the door.
Good day, bad day, any day.
Yeah, it's the only non-judgmental thing in your life.
They're beautiful souls. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. What was your dog's name?
Sammy.
Sammy. And what kind of dog was it?
Bichon shithead.
Yeah.
He was just funny. He was like, if he'd get mad at me, he would pee or shit on something I owned.
There you go, Dad.
Yeah, here, think about it. When the first time I went to rehab, I went and picked him up, and at the time I was moving into a hotel for a little while, and he wouldn't look at me, didn't want to be my friend, and I look in the rearview mirror, and he's shitting on my coat in the back seat, staring at me. Like, there you
go. Yeah.
Leave me.
Yeah. When you look at your story, I mean, 6 years sober, what made you say, I need to go get sober now?
Seriously?
Yeah, was there somebody that said, Jebb, get sober, or was it you?
No, I was ready to jump off the balcony. I thought, those are my two choices, either get sober or jump. And I couldn't do it to my kids and grandkids.
You got to that point too, eh? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
And luckily I had, because it's an instant, right? Because you can actually convince yourself.
Yeah.
It'll just take, I got to go down 13 floors, that's it.
It's done.
And it'll poof.
Yeah.
But with my luck, now I'm living on the third floor, I just get broken legs. I'm going to be a bitter guy in a
there
wheelchair.
You go, right? Yeah. Tried. Yeah. No.
I did my best.
What led you there to say, hey, it's either I keep going or
I just couldn't stop.
And were you
and I think
messing up your life?
Part of the problem is I'm not a stupid person. So it's like I should be able to outsmart this. And I think that was the lack of surrender. Just going, I don't need, I still don't go to AA. I have a lot of friends from meetings and from Betty Ford that come by and talk to me and, check on me.
One of my friends, he lost both his sons to mental illness and suicide. But he ended up in Betty Ford, and he said it was one of the greatest things that ever he came out of. Yeah. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if I was just ready. I think if you, I mean, it's obviously, it's not a cheap venture.
No, it's not.
But you can go to Lander. Yeah. I went to Lander once.
That's where is that?
That's here. That's just
okay.
Yeah, just an hour south.
Oh, what was that? Oh, Ravensview is what I was thinking of. That's in BC.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a million places to go. There, I there's an indigenous one that you don't have to be indigenous to go to. And religiously, I think more along their lines than Western religions.
Do you think we'll ever get to a place where men or women realize, hey, you know what? I don't need to get to that point to stop. Just the way you and I had got to a point where we said, I'm done. Literally done. 2 options, live or die.
Yeah, I don't...
Like, why does it have to be to that extreme, right? And
are we going to find it out earlier than that?
Exactly. Realize, okay, maybe partying a little too much.
Well, like I said, I knew forever. I knew. I'd have to be a moron not to think I was an addict,
There's a gentleman, I don't know if you've heard of Joey Diaz.
Yeah, why do I know that name?
He's a comedian as well, but he had similar issues. He had to stop. He said the cocaine, the alcohol.
Oh, it's everywhere in that industry.
Yeah.
I think maybe less now, but in the U.S. during the 80s, there was a time period I didn't know anyone that didn't do coke.
Good Lord. So it was just a lifestyle. It was part of being a comedian.
Everybody did it. So once again, how could it be wrong if everybody's doing it?
And especially people that you look up to. Oh, well, this comedian's doing it, right? So.
Well, I was doing it before I started doing comedy, but nobody knew. My first wife had no idea.
Robin Williams had been doing that as well, right?
Uh-huh.
He dealt with some issues.
Yep.
I
didn't know him well,
no.
but I was on a movie show, interviewed him a couple of times, and hung out with him on one not so memorable night in San Francisco, and he was a non-stop go guy. Whether at the time he was using or not, that was just him. Balls out.
Just full
blown.
Good Lord.
I mean, if you look at his specials, that's how he operated.
Yeah.
100 miles an hour.
Even behind the scenes, he was just that guy.
Yeah.
Good gosh. I mean, you think that person, well, we say it how many times over, how can he take his life? He brought so much joy and laughter and happiness.
Oh, hey,
I mean,
we're
Mrs.
like
Doubtfire.
We're third to dentists for suicides. Comics are not happy people. Comedians are not. And I've always said, show me a really happy comedian. The guy ain't funny. Like most comedy comes from pain. Doesn't come from a place of joy and happiness.
What pain were you feeling or dealing with inside? Now you look at your life saying, this is who I was since 13 or whatever age you were drinking.
Yeah. Well, I started drinking with my dad, but I don't know. I couldn't nail it down other than self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, I sent my sister, I was talking to my half-sister this week, and I had sent my sister, I was doing up a book of the adult children of alcoholics, and I was, blackening things out and putting our names in it.
Interesting, okay.
Because, oh, yeah, that's definitely me. That's her. That's me. And it was like, how can whoever wrote this book know this much about me? And then here's the funny thing to me. You go to an AA meeting, and they say you're not supposed to say, we all do this, because we're all individuals. Yet, we all do the same stupid shit. So it's like, hold on. Let's admit that we're all a lot alike and figure out a power inside of that.
When you look at your father, was he someone that was struggling with alcohol or trauma that he brought into your life?
He ended up quitting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's how I grew up. That's what men did.
Go to work, come home.
Oh, no. Go to work, drink.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He drank at lunch every day. I don't know how early he started until he had retired. And then day of his funeral, I had to go drink with his friends. And he told me, when he was on his deathbed, he said, you got to go. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, you got to be there at 9 o'clock. And I said, bars don't open at 9. He goes, not the front door. And it was this little pub, and the guy opened the back door.
Oh my goodness.
and let all of his buddies in because he was also drinking. So they go there and have breakfast and start drinking. And
Was your mom like that as well?
no, my mom was a pretty pious
Yeah.
evangelical Christian.
Interesting. Okay.
Sometimes there's none meaner than those people.
Well, we've seen that lately.
Yes. Yeah, that's a scary thing. And when you were, how much of an effect do you think a president like Donald Trump had over raising the anger level of people?
Well, I definitely don't think it calmed people down. And the narrative could have been a little, how to describe it, a little controlled. I think it needs kinder, softer. I mean, you were just amplifying things. We saw what was in January with the storming of the Capitol.
Yeah.
And if you replay what he had said, that was not a noble thing to do for humanity.
Do you think it was a perfect storm with everything that was going on in the world? And he had already divided the country so much. He had the audience to make that happen.
Yeah, prove a point. There's some people that'll say, "Oh, he's still our president."
Oh yeah, they have to believe that it was fixed. Whereas in Canada, the elections are fixed by virtue of all of the people in the East decide who's going to run the country.
It's so true. Yeah.
It's always. I had a joke in my act, that I'd be getting up, getting ready, and getting dressed to go and vote, and turn on the TV. It's all over, and it's like our polls haven't opened. How could it possibly?
See.
Yeah, and same electoral college. Now they're trying to rig that as best they can.
Do you think Biden and Kamala Harris have come in place at a right time to now soften the country down?
For some people, yes. But for others, I think some people are going, we backed you, and you're not fixing it yet. And it's like, I just had oral surgery. And the guy told me it'll be either, I still don't have all the feeling back. And he said it'll be 6 weeks to 6 months.
Wow, that's a wide gap right
I
there.
said, are you fucking kidding me? You can't do it faster than that? No. It's how you heal. So it's you know what? He was great. He did a great job. Everybody I dealt with in the medical system in Canada did a great job. But I literally was angry because he shared that message.
Well, we see it in the States, red versus blue. I mean, we still see it here as well. Do you think, whether you call it anti-vax or whatever the name is, and pro-vaccine individuals, will that ever stop? Do you think that divide will ever just come to an agreement where we say, all right, you're right on this, you're right on this? Why were we yelling at each other or arguing and screaming? And I
think some people will actually be angry if it gets cured. Because now what? Now what do I hate? Yeah. I mean, when was the last time you heard something about Black Lives Matter?
Oh, no.
Me too.
True.
Gone. And the best the Republicans got now is, all those horrible Mexicans that are coming over and doing work that, born in country, spoiled white people won't do. Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I hope they find some peace in this, or I know we'll never get to 100% of
no.
everyone. And that's silly of me to even think.
How do you think, so you have a podcast.
Yes.
I have a podcast. How do you think, because we seem pretty sensible, how do you think you can affect people on your podcast to at least move towards that? Not fix it, but move, towards that.
Jebb, the common sense is right there. Just look. What are you looking at? Who are you hanging out with? Which parades are you going to? Sorry, protests are you going to?
It's bad to call them a parade. That should be a positive thing. But it's funny because you say, I had someone stop by the booth and they told me, and they had listened to Karen's podcast, and they said, wow, she just knew so much. I learned so much. And this is a friend of mine, and she said, I could never figure out how come you couldn't quit. And you tried to tell me, and then I listened to Karen, and I go, oh, he just couldn't, and, until he was topped up and couldn't do anymore. And there's it's like, if I affect just one person, but, the saying in comedy is if I can just make one person in the audience laugh, I'm a really shitty comedian. Your job is to touch everyone. And I don't.
Ripple effect, yeah.
Yeah, and I can do that in an audience in general. I mean, there's going to be people that don't like me, but to figure out how to get this message across, what do you think? Like, what can be done?
We've seen the media, the news, educate people on it, and then you'll get the backlash because there's so much wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the things that I see don't make sense. So it gives the opposition a chance to say, told you so. There's something fishy going on, or this could be a conspiracy. Right?
Well, I watched the video of a lady talking about they gave her the vaccine against her wishes for her job. Right. And she said, I'm going to show you this spoon or whatever is going to stick to my neck. And she just kept doing it. It just kept falling off. And she kept doing it. It's like, the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing over and over again. It's not magnetic. You don't have something in your body.
Totally. Well, people are getting worried now saying healthcare workers, mandatory vaccine. If you want to fly, travel, or do anything, mandatory vaccine. This is where it gets to that tricky, touchy part where people are saying, well, you can't force me. We keep hearing this phrase of my body, my choice. How would you say that narrative can be changed?
Yeah, but see, in Texas, they don't believe that about abortion.
There we go.
But they believe it about the vaccination. Can't pick and choose that theory. Either you can't tell people what to do with their body. I wasn't going to get them because I had pretty sure I already had it. And then the variants came out, and I thought, I'm still not healthy from having it. Like, if I get it again, might kill me.
I don't know about you, but last December or early January, before we got or heard about it here, I was really sick for 2 weeks.
Yep. I hear a lot of that. I have the business at the market, and people tell me it.
Yeah.
But they also say, I don't have to get vaccinated. And I always say, you go online and look at the variant.
Oh, yeah.
And find out how this changes.
Well, there's always a counter to everything you put up. I mean, India was having corpses being burnt on the streets because they didn't know where to put them anymore. There's so many bodies. They didn't have oxygen a few months ago. I mean, people were saying it's just a hoax. It's just one little part. They've just cornered them in, and they're just making them all panic like that so they can show us fear.
Well, and I had people ask me, why is it, what's Italy doing wrong? And I said, nothing. They all live together.
Families.
They don't put their old people in a home. They live with them.
Known as.
Yeah. And like your grandparents are in this hospital or, care facility, and you don't go see them.
I had to deal with the grief, like I had mentioned, and trauma in my own ways, a loss of my mom. And it was a few months before the pandemic, as I said. But it was interesting to see is now I can clearly see a silver lining as well there. And that's where I've said I've been finding these little moments of, aha, okay, I'm okay. I got to spend my days with my mom. How many people did we see through this pandemic on TV that would have to hold up the iPad for FaceTime or through a glass and through these big suits. And I'm thinking, that's how you have to say bye, or not even say bye. Just stay home and we'll give you a call.
Yeah,
people are dying alone.
And my mom passed away in the States, and I didn't get to go see her. And she had early onset dementia. And it was kind of that it's not even her anymore, and she's lost. She thought my son was me.
Oh, okay.
And it was like she doesn't know anymore. So I wanted to remember her the way she was. A staunch evangelical Christian.
That's your mama.
That would have said in the middle of a pandemic, God's will. She would, that was everything, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder how many of the right-wing evangelical Christians are just going, well, it's part of God's plan.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about a lot of the pastors and individuals that are saying, you can't be forcing a vaccine?
Hideously irresponsible to their flock. Honestly, the big saying, what would Jesus do? Well, he wouldn't say get in a small room and hug each other. No. He'd say, if you do that, you're going to get this and you'll be dead. Same as don't eat pork because you'll get trichinosis and it will kill you. It doesn't anymore.
But at one point in time.
At one point. So that was a viable rule at that time.
Yes.
Not so much anymore.
When you see individuals fighting each other, or, obviously I'm guessing you're pro-vaccine.
I did what was right for me.
Mm-hmm.
My now ex-wife did the same. Our daughter got vaccinated. And I don't know that I know enough to tell somebody, you should go do this.
I agree, yeah.
I don't see
the reason not to do it if everyone else is.
No. And, like the pharmacist where I got money, he was trying to tell me, well, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. And I said, if you had any idea what I've put in my body, you wouldn't even hesitate. Like this ain't going to kill me.
Yeah.
Turns
that
out,
would have been a few years ago.
Yeah, it would have. Well, a friend of mine in London, England, I talked to him on the phone. He said, you got one of those bodies that could kill COVID. You have so much, you've built up a resistance to so much in your life that it's not going to kill you. And I was like, well, just for shits and grins, I'm going to go get that vaccine.
How do you tell people right now, hey, you should probably get it done without telling them?
I don't really. Like if they ask me, I'll say, you know what, I made the choice I made for me because I thought it was right.
That's the best way to be.
I think that if you're going online and reading things that people have written who are not qualified to tell you any of those things, like, I'm an out-of-work plumber, but I don't think you should get the vaccine. And my answer is, oh, well, when my pipes go bad, I'll call you. But now I'm going to listen to the scientists. Yeah. And now the other side is attacking the science with they don't even have scientists to back them up.
No, it's funny. It's some of the stuff you do see though, right? The articles you're like, how does that even make sense? And how do you believe this is true? But do you think booster shots and all of this will ever end?
I think it will.
Yeah.
Although the bad thing is so many people that our hospitals are packed with people that have not been vaccinated. And you see news reports all the time where somebody will be lying there in bed
Jebb,
going,
it's fake news.
Hey, no, they're lying in bed going, I had it. You need to get vaccinated. I can't believe I didn't do that. And it's like once they get on the brink of death from it, maybe they were right.
Well, I heard someone saying it's like shattered glass in your lungs. Good Lord. That's just something to picture.
Yeah, my lungs are still not 100%.
No. Do you still smoke?
Never did smoke cigarettes.
No way.
No.
Okay.
you pick anything else out, I've smoked it. But
What have you found to keep yourself busy or heal now? Is there any other substances, or you just pick up apple juice and say, I love this drink?
ice cream. I eat a lot of ice cream. I work. I work lots of hours, and I stay busy. You know, I have a pasta company, and I just keep going. And I think that's the thing where we were talking about. People are at home, and they have nothing to do.
That's boredom. Problems. You go on Twitter, start ripping people apart.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Is like people should realize that everyone is trying in some way, most oftentimes. And the people that are trying and sometimes are not fully there yet, I think people should realize you can give a little bit of a push instead of saying, F you, right? And tearing people down.
Well, I guess the way that I would think of it is say, okay, for a day, go like, because you spend your life going into anti-vax websites, go into pro-vax websites and have a balanced. And like for me, I do that with the news. I watch, I'll watch 2 or 3 newscasts. Probably a lot of people wouldn't like it, but I like Al Jazeera. I think it's a really well done newscast.
It's actually an interesting channel. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they're not trying to convert anybody.
No. This is
Trying
what's
to
happening in
report
the world.
news. Yeah. BBC News World I like.
I love documentaries. That's one thing I admire.
Yeah.
It's just it's fascinating to see how much is happening right now. Or has it always been this way and we never had the time to say, oh, I didn't realize that's happening in the world?
Or you just didn't. You were so busy with your own life, you didn't care.
Yeah. Do you take everything that the news says to be serious always?
No, you kidding me? I worked in the news. Of course not. I mean, they have their
Of course.
slant on it. Everyone does. It doesn't matter who or what you are. You have a predetermined idea of what a story actually is. And then, I mean, I have to tell people all the time. They look me up on Wikipedia, and they'll go, oh, I saw you're worth $6 million. Where'd you see that? Wikipedia? Yeah, that, I said, go home and change the number to much less than that.
Yeah.
And
if you find that 6 million, come and find me.
Yeah, if you can find my name on a bank account, I mean,
Exactly. No, it's, and it's really cool to see through this pandemic how many individuals are starting local small businesses and just independent journalist reporting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And little YouTube channels that are actually blowing up now.
And people are starting businesses doing something they love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally, the food thing, I mean, I've always cooked.
Have you always been a foodie?
Yeah, but weird foodie. Like
Yeah.
I was, until I started traveling a lot, I'll call it an American foodie, where it was, maybe not as classy.
Yeah. But it was darn good.
Yeah, like I can make you some of the worst food in the world for your body that is so delicious.
Oh, you're making me hungry. Like gravy on fries. And what are you thinking?
I can't eat that much anymore. Chicken fried steak that is plopped on a plate full of potatoes and covered with gravy.
Oh, my goodness.
No veg. That's just taking up space that you need for potatoes and chicken fried steak.
I was on your social media. You always have meat. You love meat.
I do. And you know what? I'm in a market where people like good basic food.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of that. Yeah. The shepherd's pie, is it good for you? Well, it's not going to kill you, but it's not particularly good for you. Mm-hmm. And but you don't eat it every day.
No. But when you do make it and you eat it, it definitely hits a spot, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the pasta is amazingly healthy. Like it's non-GMO.
So what is your pasta? Like, what is your company called?
Jebb's Joint.
Jebb's Joint, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And what can you get? See, obviously, the sauce is Italian. The noodles are Italian.
Yep.
That's got to be there. What do you have them pre-made as well? for people to.
Yeah, pre-made meals to take home.
Oh,
That's my
amazing.
big seller.
Yeah.
Because people, although they have time at home, they want to do anything but cook.
Throw it in.
Yeah, and it just amazes me, everyone that is on the Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes, and I don't think they really realize how much money that costs the business.
Oh my goodness, 30%.
I refuse to work with them, 30%.
Yeah.
So everybody I know that's being successful about that has just raised their price on those platforms 30%. Because why should they lose? I know a pizza place that had 4 delivery guys. Friday and Saturday, they used to make a couple of $100 each every night in tips. And now people started ordering from those platforms.
Do you think one day we'll see a local platform that's maybe 5%? Or
I think there are some out there now.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at them. I think there are some grocery delivery services. But, I mean, you don't even have to go inside a grocery store anymore. You know, you can basically text them inside and sit in your car, and the guy won't touch you. You don't have to.
do you think this will ever go away?
Pardon me?
I don't think this will ever go away. Do you?
The COVID?
No, the new way of doing
The
things.
convenience.
Yeah.
No, because I think it's just the way the world has changed.
It's so true. It's like, hey, you want to do a Zoom call? I don't know how to use Zoom. What do I do here? Now it's just the norm.
Yeah, you know what? I never hear that. I did Zoom shows, which was more difficult because you don't feel that connection. And to me, like when I do a show, it's really important to connect to people. Yeah. So the Zoom meeting to me, like we do it for the board for my condo.
It's like the energy, right? You got to have it.
I find there's less yelling and arguing. Because you can't like yell over the other person because your mic just cuts out. So it's kind of an evil, good plan.
It's like, wow, she looks so beautiful when she sings.
So some of the things you talked about the mentorship program. Now, if somebody's out there and they're like, okay, you know what? I've been sober for 10 years. And I need something to do. Maybe I could do that. How would they get involved?
Absolutely. They can click the contact form, and the mental.ca platform, again, is just starting. It's a project.
Right.
It's ongoing. But we want people that can help share their story to other men and say, holy smokes, I'm not alone. I heard Jebb speak. I heard Zak speak. And they can open up and feel safe, even if it's, you know, your life is different than mine, Jebb. Your story is totally different than mine, but we still have these similarities.
Yeah.
Right? We're sane.
Yeah. Well,
depends who you ask.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But, you know, somebody would tell you that starting this was insane.
It was. Yeah, it was. And, you know, you got to take risks. Not everything will work out.
Yeah.
But not taking that is something I've realized is also dangerous for yourself, you know, because that's regret.
Had you not done this, do you think at some point you would have had so much regret for not doing it?
I don't think so much, but I think, I don't know, just, I've always said, just, you know, the sky's the limit. Keep going. Or the sky's not the limit. It's only your belief system, right? That's the thing. Keep going, push, and see how far you can come, and most importantly, don't forget to smile every day. Keep people happy, and just do good things, and hopefully it'll come back tenfold. That's the thing right here, right? Yeah. Now more than ever, we need to be kind. Now more than ever.
See, I believe that, and it was so depressing to me to look at people being so unkind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they went immediately to it's us against them, whoever 100%. Those sides, however they divide up.
It's not.
No.
It's funny when you look at the timeline of the pandemic and you say, oh, we were all in this together, calling each other up. Hey, you doing okay? Do you know where the toilet paper is? Do you know?
Yeah.
Like all these crazy things have happened. And all of a sudden now, I never thought our world would come to, well, who did? Where we would be fighting each other about
Excuse me.
the jab.
I mean, even my ex-wife was saying the other day, remember when at 7 o'clock we go out on the front porch and bang our pots and pans as a support for the
Frontline workers.
yeah. And then it's like, well, you know, people got tired of that. And I'm sure somebody at one point went, well, this isn't helping. You know what I mean? It didn't fix everything.
And then they gave
like
up. Morale.
Really not what it was about. No. But
that spirit has died now.
And then it moves all the way over to people attacking hospital workers on their way in.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
it's like, are you kidding me?
I think that was a couple months ago at the foothills, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they blocked ambulances.
Yeah, I just can't imagine thinking you're that important that you should make that decision. So they don't want the rest of society to make the decision for them, but they want to make the decision for the rest of society. I think the word I'm looking for is assholes. Yeah. But
people are worried there's going to be a two-tier system here, though, and that's what they're afraid of. Where
there already is.
Thank you. It's always been there. You can't get in a car if you don't have a driver's license. You can't get behind a wheel.
Yeah, not allowed to drive drunk. You know why? Because it puts other people in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And the two-tier system, I have a lot of friends that are quite wealthy, and a lot of them go once a year to the U.S., to the Mayo Clinic, and get full-blown physicals. They get everything fixed they need to. And honestly, good for them. They have a lot of money, and they're out of the lineup.
People forget also it's like one life. If you got it, take care of it. Right?
Yep. And then I know a lot of people with a lot of money that are just powering through their body as fast as they can. So, but I think people don't like being able, like I've had people mad at me because I went to the Betty Ford. Well, you know, there's places to go here. And I was like, you know what? I had a really good friend that said, you need to go to Betty Ford. Mm-hmm. That's the only place that you're going to get help. And he fronted me the money to go do it. Literally just the first move I made was paying for the ticket to get there. Mm-hmm. And he said, just get there. We'll work it out when you get back.
Interesting.
And it was like, people resent the fact that someone helped me like that, I think. But I think they more or less resent the fact that someone didn't help them. And it's really not about me.
Okay.
And I try to remember that and go, okay, you're not actually mad at me. You're mad at the situation, and you wish someone would have done that for you or for your uncle or for whoever.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. I was driving here today, and I was thinking in my head, there is negativity out there. And sometimes, you know, people can blast you or put you in the spotlight, and you start realizing, do you cave in? Do you put the blanket over yourself and just close your eyes and say, God, just bury me right now? You know,
just turtle.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We have feelings. We have hearts. We're all nervous through this thing. And you got to remember, like you just said, is how people treat you or what they do to you is a direct reflection of how they feel within themselves.
Yes.
I strongly believe that. Do you?
Yeah.
For the most part.
I think for the most part, it has very little to do with me, how people act towards me.
Because oftentimes people say, or get stuck in that mindset where we want to be like, what does that person think of me? Or what would they say if I do this? And you can't live your life in that. It's not worth it.
I was never really good at that.
You're
serious. Well, I didn't give a shit, which is worse.
Is it worse?
To not care what anybody thinks about you gives you a license to be the biggest jerk in the world because, well, I don't care.
But did you genuinely not care?
For a lot of it, yeah. But how much was altered by chemical condition, you know?
A few too many shots and, you don't care anymore.
Why would I? You know?
Yeah. So what do you do now to keep yourself happy and at peace through this?
I don't know if I'm happy yet. I use the word content.
Okay.
I go through parts of my life peaceful, like a routine, like do something the same every day, the same way, the same, you know?
What would that be? Coffee.
Yeah, coffee. I cook. I make everything that I sell, so
I'll have to come
work a
by.
lot. But and in the night with ice cream.
Oh my God. That's over the past week. That's all I've been doing. Ice cream. It's hitting
Yeah.
the spot, you know. And people say, "Oh, have ice cream when you're happy or sad," or it just feels good.
Yeah, that's how I felt about whatever my addiction was at the time. Have it when you're happy or sad. So
What's your favorite ice cream?
I really like chocolate with chocolate sauce, but I'm backing off
Yeah.
of the overload on the chocolate.
Where do you get, or where do you get it from?
I have a tendency, I'm not flush with cash anymore, so I buy,
DQ?
no. I buy
Like
gallons.
Oh,
I've
nicely
actually
done.
bought the big tubs before.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. There's something wrong with you when you're doing that, eh?
Oh, that's awesome. I can eat quite a bit of ice cream. That's why. I just got 2 blizzards the other day and yesterday, or a couple days ago and yesterday. I took a few bites, put it back. Today I'll go home and it's hitting the spot right now. But you can kill it?
good.
You can kill a bowl?
Oh, yeah. Well, I down to a cup. I use a cup to put the ice
Oh,
cream
yeah.
in
Nice.
in an effort to eat less.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. Well, thank you again for having me on this.
Well, you know what? You were great. You had a lot of information. Mental.ca.
Yes, that's what I've been working on. It's a project. It's an early startup, but I do want people to come on board and let's see what we can create here. You know, we don't need this divide. We need to work together, and now more than ever, seriously, it's really polarized this time period. And we're human beings at the end of the day. You know, if there was no pandemic, or the pandemic ends, are we going to really be happy with one another then? You'd be like, hey, buddy, that's not vaccinated or vaccinated, I still love you.
Or was there a comfort in hating?
Yeah.
That would be bad. But so you look up Zak Hussein,
Yes.
and like I said, I went to it and I see everything that's going to be built into this, and it's a great idea, and I really appreciate you coming to talk to us.
Thank you again, Jebb. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So I just got to follow us on Instagram.
Oh, yes.
At Sober Not Insane. Subscribe, like, watch. YouTube, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I believe now Bob's House of No, there's no Bob's House of Podcasts. And, big thanks to Liz from the camera store for helping us out with equipment. And again, Zak, thanks so much.
Thank you again.